Dive. Oh yeah, it's
We
live.
are live.
Brilliant.
Good evening, gentlemen. How are you doing?
Doing very well, man. Yes. Or good morning where I am. It's good morning.
What is it, 1 o'clock there? 2 o'clock?
2 o'clock. I'm
Nice.
I'm
Nice.
actually part owl. I'm part owl.
Yeah, good evening, good morning.
How you doing, Meddy?
Yeah, not too bad, all things considered. How you doing, Chris?
Good, man. Good. Regan? Or Regan?
Awesome, man. I'm doing good.
You sound good. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah.
So who wants to start off this conversation about the plasma symbiotes?
Well, I was having an interesting discussion with Eros. I don't know if you caught it all, Chris, but I will sort of share a bit of it. I'll share the video later, but I have some notes that I covered with Eros, and he brought up some really quite interesting things. I've also sent him a link to the StreamYard, so he may join. I'm not quite sure.
Let's go.
He's a rather busy man, but he's got 4 children, so I mean, Jesus, I can only imagine his hairline. Anyway,
Horrible.
he discussed that. So firstly, he was discussing plasma entities, and that plasma entities are sort of they're detached from what he calls the PMFC. And if I can get this up, the PMFC is the where is this? Here we go. Here we go. It's the posterior medial frontal cortex, which enforces cognitive dissonance for group survival. It permits abstract thinking. Thus, it locks average people into subjective reality traps, as he describes here. So basically, what he states is that you get a sort of cinematic takeover of the body that projects from the mind. And this is what the PMFC produces. And then he goes on to state, interestingly, that plasma entities, these non-biological plasma intelligences, as he calls it, and he takes this from Joseph P. Farrell's work and several others, that book, A New Science of Heaven. And you could also, I mean, they go by a multitude of names, according to Eros, throughout mythology: the Watchers, the Shining Ones, the Grigori, the Jinn, the beings of smokeless fire, so on and so forth. We should all be aware of these and familiar with them. So he states that they're unbound by the PMFC. They're not bound by the same posterior medial frontal cortex, again, that thing which produces the potential for cognitive dissonance and thus abstract thinking within the mind. And moreover as well, this sort of grants them a sort of need, or it foists them into a need to find vessels, to find human vessels which are anchors into the physical world, by which they can, through their genetic host, tether themselves to a second order objective awareness. So basically, to cut a long story short, he's talking about plasma possession as a sort of model of explaining what we see from mythology. And as we see from mythology, perhaps it wasn't that history was reversed into mythology, but it was in fact a mythology that was itself a true history. That in time, of course, is historical distance expanded. That history eventually became entirely abstract, or abstract. It was made abstract through mythology, through story, through it was seen as falsehood. It was seen as fantasy, but of course, as Eros stated, and as we were exploring, perhaps it's not. Perhaps there's something to this. He also discusses as well, and this is something we've been sort of exploring, and it's something of course, I've spoken to you about, Chris, previously, which is what he calls digital topomancy. So this is what we've been discussing with cybernetics and the third order and fourth order of cybernetics through AI, through wide body area networks, through all of this basically control grid, this digital control grid that seeks to control man and bring forth the technological superorganism. Well, he states that all of this, all of these egregores that you see within the digital sphere, I actually have a few videos from, what's that guy's name? Theoria. God, I forget his name.
Ken Wheeler.
That's the one. Yes. It's a little.
You want to play some?
Well, I will. I'll just mention this. So Ken Wheeler's going to mention here that regarding all of the various data centers, and they're all named after, interestingly, fallen angels, either from the Book of Enoch or whatever it may be, right? And I'll try and find this if I can find it. Here we go. So hold on, I'll just close this and then I'll play it.
Let me know when it's down below.
I'll share my screen now.
Oh wait, you have access now, so you could just share it.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look what Daddy did for everyone. Nice and easy.
This should be it here. Right.
Look at that. I love it. I love not having to do anything. Sound though. No sound, right?
I'm hearing sound.
Regan, Medi.
No sound.
No sound.
Oh, no sound.
No.
Nothing.
Jesus, Silas, look what you did.
Right.
We gave you a shot at the big leagues. You come in. Well, are you in it? Is it because did you open it in a different browser? That might have been why.
Well, actually, I only have the file here, so I've sent the file to you, Chris. See if you can play it from your end. But basically, what he's going to state, interestingly, is that if you look at all of these various data centers, and of course the companies behind them, they're all named after interesting sort of chaos entities or fallen angels. Even, of course, Palantir. With the Palantiri, of course, from Tolkien's world, the Palantiri were these orbs that could grant a far sight. So again, it's related to surveillance. It's related to even Sauron, to Melkor, to this sort of sensation, not sensation, but this sort of quest for the Grail of immortality. This is what Melkor and Sauron in Tolkien's world was after. They were after this retreat from death, this way in which they could, escape death. And this is how, of course, the Numenorians or the Atlanteans, the paralleled Atlanteans, managed to escape. This is how they fell. To Melkor's influence. He managed to persuade them to pursue technology, to pursue basically a Molochian doctrine, and also he instituted in them fear against that of the gift of Eru Iluvatar, which was the gift of death. That's what he gave to man. And the gift of death is such because, as Eros explains, with his sort of take on Tolkien's work, that death allows man to focus his potential vis-a-vis the finiteness of his mortal expanse, his mortal life. And another idea that I would also contribute to that is that the infinite is only infinite because it can die, right? Because it divests itself into vessels, and because these vessels die. So as you see, as our heart is a testament to, but you see throughout the world, everything is about contraction and expansion, contraction and expansion. So this is what death does. It's a spatial contraction, which allows the expansion of the infinite once more. So that's why I would also contribute to that. But this ties in with the plasma entities simply being that when you look at the entire cosmic economy of energy collapsing and expanding, the reason they would need human vessels, and the reason, of course, what is we'll get into with the sort of genetic markers of all of this, and perhaps how human beings were engineered to sort of suit this agenda of these plasma entities, as Eros explains, that they require us to manifest the digital technologies, the technological superorganism, to almost attempt to provide or find a sort of loophole out of death, out of this paradoxical contraction and expansion cycle of energy and of terminal admittance of energy. So yeah, the rest of that goes into sort of quantum mechanics and such. But
Silas, can you send me that link on Telegram? Because I don't have my phone since I'm using that as the camera.
On WhatsApp, well, I'll try and... Do you have Twitter?
I do have Twitter.
I'll try and find it on Twitter, because it's definitely... I've bookmarked it.
Okay.
Here we go. I'll send you the link on Twitter, man. Yeah.
Or you can copy and paste the Twitter link into the private.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, this should work. Let's see. Share screen. Oh, God. No, why is it doing this? All right, let me log in real fast. Y'all can't see what I'm doing, right?
Yes.
Okay. I love the 7-factor authentication that I'm going to have to go through right now. Let's see which one.
StreamYard, I heard, made some updates recently. They don't seem to be so good for most people.
I'll try and share it from my end.
Wait, here we go. Okay. It's actually working now on mine. So, yeah, I got it. Now I'll share it. Can everyone see that?
Yeah.
Change the letters of these fallen angels.
Can you hear that?
We got audio. Yep, that's good.
Saving the day. Here we go. All right. Thanks for sending this out. Here we go.
You end up with chaos. By the way, chaos is a human concept. There's actually no such thing as chaos and natura naturans or natural order. But have you asked yourself the question why these data centers are named after fallen angels? Oracle, Archeon, Hyperion, Colossus, Stratos. All you have to do is rearrange the letters to spell out chaos. I'm sure this is totally coincidental. Does it take like a linguist like me, who, by the way, I'm very proud to say, was the first person on Earth, people have been trying to figure it out for over 1,000 years, to figure out the Sator scared. Sator repo tenit opera rotas. This is in Greek, by the way. First person to figure that out. As a linguist, did it take a linguist to figure this out? So could you tell me why you think the data centers are named after fallen angels? Oracle, Archeon, Hyperion, Colossus, Stratos. Something to consider. I'm sure it's a total, absolute coincidence. There's just totally coincidental.
Yeah, and something just to total coincidence, yes. Total I mean, another thing to mention with the Satyr Repotenet Opera Rotas is is well, firstly, I mean, it's sort of push back on what Ken Wheeler stated there. You know, not with all due respect, but the arepo itself is actually, well, firstly, I mean, you could trace it perhaps back to a Sanskrit word, but really, a closer immediate etymology would be, in fact, that it's most likely broken Latin. So Satyr, which of course definitely is Latin, it's where we get our term Saturn from. Satyr means cedar. So the cedar, A, rep, O, so alpha repeatedly to omega. Again, this is very Hebraic, right? From the aleph repeatedly to the tav, so the A repeatedly to the O, or the end, the beginning repeatedly to the end, ad infinitum. The cedar manipulates the wheel, basically the world, the engine of history, vis-a-vis the toroid, right? This is the rotas, or the toroid, or the whirlwind. So the toroid itself, what is the toroid? Right, well, the toroid is an enclosed system. It's an enclosed energetic system that loops around. It is, if you look into George Bataille's work, and I would only look into his work if you're you know, not feeling too down. Don't look into his work if you're prone to depression or anything, because it's quite it's quite a ride. That's all I'll say. He's quite the nihilist, right? Or so I think, at least. Anyway, he comes out with some really interesting theories, anyway, regarding the metaphysics and regarding the sort of solar cosmic economy and how it functions in terms of energy transmittance and such. One of those ideas in the La Solar Anus, or the Solar Anus, brilliant title, I guess, is that from the mouth to anus axis, as he calls it, right?
Coming up a lot lately.
Which of course every living being also possesses this sort of anatomy, is that effectively that's the toroid, right? The energy comes in through the north and it leaves through the south, of course, right? And then it loops back around. So the expenditure, the solar expenditure, this is Bataille's idea. And by the way, Nick Land took this and developed it in Thirst for Annihilation. He's the one that's developed the idea of technological accelerationism, accelerating towards the omega point of technological singularity, the building of the technological superorganism. By the way, this is why they don't care that the data centers are poisoning the
but this is also just like literally the dialectric.
The dialectic. Exactly.
The dialectic, and I actually said the dielectric, like the dielectric field.
Yes.
Yeah. But it's also the dialect. It's the dialectic as well. It's both.
Yeah. In fact, that's a brilliant slip up, because it is exactly the dialectic. Yeah, that's the whirlwind is the It's also the dielectric. You're totally spot on. So
that's why Ken was talking about it, I'm sure, because that's what he talks about most of the time.
Exactly, and he also stated at the beginning as well that where was it? It was there's no such thing as chaos. Spot on. I mean, he's spot on. There is no such thing as chaos. What chaos is order that's beyond human comprehension, and this fundamentally is beyond, you know, the majority of the population's comprehension. I mean, really, we're just scratching the surface of it here. We're trying to look at this thing and deduce it, because, of course, we're not privy to the mysteries, right? But yeah, no. Effectively, what they're attempting to create is the toroid. The technological superorganism is meant to effectively establish the toroid, right? It's to establish life itself, and to establish an enclosed system of energy that never leaves. And in
Once
doing so,
the eighth sphere,
the eighth sphere, exactly.
the enclosed literal. I feel like almost it's even more literal than we probably even thought. Like it's you think of the infinity symbol, like it's an enclosed loop.
Exactly.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
That's why, you hear the expressions like, come on, it's not rocket science. It's not. Even rocket science is fucking bullshit and actually super simple if broken down to its base formulas and how it was all created and developed and etc. It's over complexity. It's considered the human condition by multiple philosophers. It's taking things way out of control, making mountains out of molehills and turning mountains into molehills. Your priorities get all flipped around. And like Ken says, it's that the toroid, the dialectic, the dielectric, and all spinning around, whirling around. Even the toroid model itself is the figure eight, right? The figure eight is a still image of the toroidal model. That's why it's also the infinite symbol, crisscross, and it's got the loops in it.
It's like a Mobius kind of strip, more right?
Yep, it is the Mobius strip. Mobius strip is got a little more added to it, is all it is. It looks more like the DNA, right?
Exactly.
The more, like a Jacob's ladder sort of helix structure twisting, but it becomes a loop too eventually, right?
It's just a figure eight.
Figure eight, okay.
It also can be, the Mobius coil looks kind of like figure eights with DNA kind of helix style.
Yeah.
And so me and Eros were discussing this, and fundamentally, when you look at it, the human being almost appears to be engineered to or the human being himself has been hijacked, has been genetically engineered to produce this PMFC, again, this posterior medial frontal cortex. Again, that part of oneself that permits cognitive dissonance, that permits abstract thinking, thus permits civilization. And by doing so, by creating civilization, as Eros states, you're off to the races then, right? In terms of accelerating towards and pursuing that of the technological superorganism, which itself is the grand vessel of them all for this type of these disembodied plasma entities. So this is his theory that surrounds that, and he also goes into chromosome 2, where, for example, humans have 46 chromosomes while other great apes have 48. Geneticists agree that human chromosome 2 is the result of a telomere to telomere fusion of two ancestral ape chromosomes. So
I feel like that number's off. Wasn't it 43 and 42 in the past? Or am I...
Interesting, I've never heard of that.
Regan? Is he with us?
What was that? I missed that.
The chromosomes in a human versus the ape. Was it 43 and 42, or what were the numbers you used, Silas?
46 chromosomes.
Yeah,
so it'll be
46.
20.
It was 46?
It's
Okay.
46. It's
We have
23.
23 pairs.
Okay, there. So it was 23 and 24. Right? One is 23, one is 24 pairs.
What, the ape has
yes,
24?
Yes, the ape has 24,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, that's what that's what I was thinking.
It's very strange because as they said, there's a telomere to telomere fusion or a karyotypic difference, which means the ends have been It's not just they've been fused together. It's almost like they've been inactivated as well. So it's very, very strange. Again, if we institute this sort of invasive hypothesis in our thinking, when we look at this, and perhaps this relates to the prison planet theory too, then as Eros states, this edit would have weakened our physical primate strength and natural resilience, making us utterly dependent on tools, clothing, and society to survive the Earth's environment. Again, look at human beings. We are basically we can't survive in really any environment unless it's very, very temperate. But even with the seasonal variances within these temperate environments, we still will most likely die. There's a high possibility of us dying without tools, without clothing, attire, all of these synthetic things that emerge from tools to permit our survival. We will die. Of course, as well, we don't have any natural defense mechanism, no natural implements for defense that grows out of our own innate biology. We have to create tools for our own defense as well. So, again, it would appear that human beings are they've been hobbled at one point in time, that our strength and our resilience, which of course our primate cousins or ancestors possess, that was hobbled or weakened, reduced, so that the mind itself could take full precedent. And there's things that, of course, that human beings can conjure up abstractly that fundamentally have no actually they're a sort of disadvantage to our own evolutionary survival, right? Is in terms of self-preservation, they inhibit us. One example is just overthinking. We tend to overthink. This can lead to indecision as well. Again, we can actually say no to our own instinct and our own instinctual drives. Now, again, that has advantages, but in a life or death situation, for self-preservation, that is very disadvantageous. However, Eros also mentions as well that this edit actually triggered rapid cranial development, leading to massive skulls that make human childbirth incredibly dangerous. Moreover, children are also born premature. Human children are born premature to obviously aid and increase the odds of survivability of both the mother and the baby during childbirth. So a built-in physical trauma right at the point of entry into the material world. Interestingly, you don't really see that with other animals. Very seldom do you see that. And then, of course, as well, that this modification, he states, created a neoteneous, or helpless at birth, species that is biologically tethered to the collective for survival, making us the perfect biological workers for complex macro engineering, of course, as well, hyper-domestication within civilization, and to utilize the model of civilization and its progress throughout the epochs towards, again, as I've stated, the creation of a technological superorganism for that to act as a vessel for, as Eros states, or at least hypothesizes, for a disembodied plasma force or entity, the thing that put us here. This is
Similar to some of the stuff Gillis gets into with his theories on the entity possession.
Yes.
I mean, everyone's starting to get into the plasma stuff now, which, I mean, we covered that book like 2 years back. But it definitely, there's weight to it. There's weight to it.
Well, it's interesting as well when you look into, for example, the biblical record, and you see, for example, the burning bush, but it wasn't consumed by the fire. I mean, this is quite interesting. So you're looking at what really is not necessarily fire, but an apparition, sort of plasmic apparition, perhaps. This is what we were looking at there. Even the book, I mean, the Book of Enoch is riddled with this.
I was just gonna say, you remember the
Yeah.
remember the Book of Miracles, you guys? I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. I'm sure you all have.
I'm
But
sure
it has
you-
all the examples of like the drawings that I think were. The claim is a family held on to it since like the 1600s, and it was just recorded events of like anomalous sky phenomena, basically. So you had like that one famous image of the battle in the sky over, what was it? Was it Normandy or?
Yes, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have these plasma sort of events going back in history for a while.
Yes. Yeah. There's tons of them. Here's another one as well that me and Eros were discussing, not in the discussion that we just held there, but previously. I actually don't have the quotes on hand. They're in my book. I actually did a whole section. I think it was in the Golden Age of Saturn's America. Might have been another one. Anyway, I did about 80 pages of notes. Actually, it was part of another book that I was going to create, but I just put it into this one. And it goes into all of the various primarily European outbreaks of, again, primarily the bubonic and pneumonic plague, and other ones, including smallpox and the Great Dying, which was probably a yellow fever-based disease that hit the Powhatan Indians in 1618 to 1620. But interestingly, whenever we find records of this, these plagues, we find sightings around the area where the plague hit of these plasma apparitions. Also, as well, of course, hooded robed figures that were spraying. Well, we know them to be spraying crops now, but of course, the medieval perspective saw them as they had scythes and they had little heads on their posterior canisters.
Or were they spraying crops back then?
Well, this is what it appears.
Doesn't
to
seem like it,
describe.
right? Well, it seems like they were like getting sick though, right?
They were, yeah. Well, it's interesting as well, because even the nobility that fled the cities, right? Supposedly this was airborne. They fled the cities, and they, were held up, or holed up rather, in their villas, right? Their country villas, and they would be completely walled off, other than a little entranceway for the servants could pass through food, right? And they were still getting sick and dying, right? Now, firstly, I mean, this was a great way for the merchant elite, the transnational capital elite, that are, of course, the harbingers, the servants of perhaps these disembodied plasma, to get rid of the rival nobility, without arousing too much suspicion. It also allowed them to economically wipe the slate clean and to start over politically as well, and so on and so forth. But you noticed as well, it appears they were still getting sick, so it appears it was in the food. And when you look at Yersinia pestis, which is the bubonic and pneumonic variant of the plague, as we call it, it's actually its most virulent form is through aerosolization. It's most virulent when it's aerosolized, which is, very, as Ken Wheeler states, it can't just be coincidental, So, there's also a quote. I think I've mentioned it to you before, Chris, in our I think it was called "The Gods of Eden." It's from that book, and we also did a discussion titled that, and we discuss all of this in it. And I discussed that quote where Black Riders came into the town. I think it was in Brandenburg in 1580, and at the dead of night, and they had this sort of spraying contraption that the record takers at the time couldn't quite understand. So they called it, they swished the scythe back and forth. It made a swishing sound, but it didn't cut down any of the crops, you know? And the little heads or canisters on their posteriors and things like that. So clearly they were talking about some sort of mechanical aerosolization and spraying contraption that was unbeknownst at the time to the peasants. So they couldn't necessarily even describe it properly, and then they all came down with sickness, and they were seeing apparitions in the skies too. So this is something you also see, for example, in Israel Regardie's work, Edward Shere's work, all of these various esotericists, and they talk about that the Kabbalah, which comes from the Hebrew to receive, that the tradition was given to the harbingers, received by the harbingers from the as Israel Regardie calls them, the demiurgos, right, within the garden. So there was a select few that were given this, and this is why they're called the elite, right? The elite doesn't mean that they're superior. What it comes from is a Latin word, eligere, meaning the selected ones, to select. So they were selected to do the great work, as they call it, right? To bring about the technological superorganism. You have the data centers, right? Data means to give, right? It's almost a sacrifice itself. You have the servers, right? Server rooms. So, and of course, all of these servers are set up like cubes, right? Almost holding cells or sarcophagi. And the servers. Solomon also had servers. you know, so you get a general interesting trend here. You look at digitalism. It's written through code, right? Which itself links with the Hebrew word for holy or sacred. Kodesh, right? That was also as well a Hebrew Egyptian goddess, Katesh, Kodesh. So you're dealing with something here. There's something to this.
I'm trying to find the A New Science of Heaven audio book so I can get the PDF that came with it out, because there's a few images on there that are super interesting, and for some reason, since I'm using my phone as this stupid camera, I can't log into half my accounts that have two-factor authorization on it. Where the hell is it? I don't know if any of you guys don't have the audiobook, I'm assuming, right?
I do not know. I do not.
I personally do not.
Okay. You guys keep talking. Give me a minute. I'm going to find it for us.
Right.
So I'm not familiar with the audiobook at all. Have you listened to it before? Because, I guess what's cool about bringing it up? What makes it more interesting to talk about or worth bringing up at all?
Well, the audiobook was released prior to the actual book by right here I found it actually, by Robert Temple, and he actually narrates the whole thing, and he takes his time to stop throughout it and explain things that aren't actually in the book. And then he puts this PDF with the audiobook, which came out about a year before the actual printed book. But I'm not sure if he actually put the PDF with the actual printed book. I'm sure he did. But it is interesting nonetheless if people haven't seen it, with some of the things it claims.
I might grab that audiobook.
Yeah, it's cheap.
I always like it when people they stop and they there's greater explanation in that.
Since he narrated it, it's worth it.
I would also as well, not to sort of advertise Eros. He's a fairly private guy, so I don't think he wants to be sort of publicized too much. But if you could, Chris, I would get a discussion going with them. a sort of show done with him, because I mean, this guy, I've sort of had ideas in this general direction, but this whole plasma hypothesis regarding civilization and the reason, firstly, the reasons for civilization, the reasons that we see power conduct what appears to be irrational and completely self-destructive, self-effacing policies, such as, the data center destruction of the environment. Ultimately, the only way really to explain this fully, I mean across the board, is basically utilizing the plasma hypothesis. So it's oh, and here's another thing somebody mentioned there. I hear plasma, I think of blood. Interestingly, if you look into the Zohar and Kabbalah, and this is actually, it was quite synchronistic when I started talking to Eros, because when you read the Kabbalah, or the Zohar, pardon, it mentions that the rabbis, the sages, they believe that, and this is one of their sort of theories in the Zohar, is that blood is the coagulation of light. Now, that's pretty interesting when you realize from the biblical testimony, and this is cross-cultural really, that the idea from the earliest ruminations of man and his thinking and philosophy and all of that, that blood was always seen as the sort of source of life. And again, this sort of makes sense when we start to discuss this plasma notion, right? Because, I mean, for another thing you could bring up, which sort of illustrates this, is The Adventures of Mark Twain, right? That animated children's series, very creepy actually. And you see it, this angel in the void, I believe it goes by Satan, right? But it's basically the Demiurgos, as we would know it in the Western or Gnostic circles, right? And I mean, what you see is he makes these things out of clay. They're static until he invokes life into them by the waving of his hand. Lightning, tendrils of lightning spring forth from his fingertips, and they spring into that of these clay figurines, these static inert clay figurines. So he almost utilizes the clay as vessels, and they're almost like sigils, pentacles themselves, right? We have 5 points to us, right? Five appendages, and so what it shows is that, I may have to. Can you hear me now? Is that better? Yeah, it's probably better. Sorry about that.
You were good on my end.
Oh,
yeah,
was that?
Sounds the same. It's all good.
All right. Is this? Yeah. What it indicates is that the blood itself contains that charge. So it's the same thing. Steiner said the same thing exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it said the exact same thing. So it's interesting because all of these things are cross-cultural. This isn't just, again, see if it was just one isolated case within one mythology, fine, right? We could put it down to just mere absurdity, right? Just strange exotic ramblings of a sage living high up in the mountains, not getting enough air, right? But what you see is this is a perennial truth. It actually is found throughout every single culture known to man, every philosophy, every religion. It really permeates the whole gamut of human thinking. So that there must be something to this. There's something that tethers this all together, and it's something that's it's not necessarily known to the vast majority of people. It's a mystery.
There's also like a huge thing on the physical level with this that a lot of people are starting to pick up on and cover, like the squatting man, all the cave drawings that match these. I guess they're, what are they? Plasma. I don't want to say explosions, but they're like
Plasma emittances, yeah.
yeah. It's and there's a bunch, but that's like it becomes like a purely materialistic, I feel like, view at that point, because it seeks to explain almost every sort of mythological, supernatural, paranormal, spiritual story with a materialistic view that it's all plasma. It's all just physical plasma.
Yes. It's also as well, Robert Temple gets into that in A New Science of Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
And he sort of
He combines it.
He gives a really good explanation regarding it, which is that these things are actually sort of they are matter in a sense, but they're a fourth state of matter. There's something beyond, beyond. They're not necessarily of the matter we would know. There's something beyond it. Yeah.
What I can remember well from the book is basically at these Lagrange points, I believe, in the sky. I think that's what they're called, where the Kordelinsky clouds were discovered. If I'm not saying that right, I apologize. Yeah. That's like the theory is it acts as an Akashic sort of record because it can store information due to the fact that it might have some sort of intelligence, and this is based on them seeing helical structures, like DNA forming structures that randomly will just self-materialize within the plasma formations. Now they're doing a lot of, I feel like they're doing a lot of like, they're extrapolating a lot of, and they're really assuming a lot based on what they're seeing in labs, and they're applying it to these basically pretty much invisible clouds that you could only see at very specific times. So I don't know how they know that's what the clouds up there are doing, these very special gigantic plasma clouds, but I'm assuming it's because they see the plasma as being the same at the macro level as it is at the micro level.
Yes, it's the Kordelinsky clouds are something that Eros goes into as well. Basically, what that there's another thing that he mentions too, but basically what it indicates is this helical structure, the toroid. Again, back to that, the whirlwinds, like what the Satyr, Repotenet Opera Rotas mentions. Fundamentally, all of the universe is in this paradoxical sort of constancy of drive, which is that you require the contraction, which is, again, death, right? The spatial contraction. You require that contraction to thus establish the space for expansion, and then vice versa with the expansion, right? That begets the contraction. So all of this is in a simultaneous, constant, sort of quantum entangled flow. The Kordelinsky clouds also indicate as well that whatever's built into our sort of immediate cosmic environment, it almost produces these the materialization of these heliacal structures almost just automatically, right? Mm-hmm. So it's almost built into the fabric. You could say the source code, if you will, for lack of a better term, of the universe itself. And this is what Eros mentions regarding the FOXP2 gene. And I made a note here, because these are his theories. I'm just sort of expositing it here. But he mentions with the FOXP2 gene, he states this is actually the engine of abstraction. You could also say the engine of hyperreality, right? This is what also makes civilization possible. So, for example, it states here, located on chromosome 7, FOXP2 is famously known as the language gene, right? This gets into my new video, which unfortunately is members only, but it discusses the William S. Burroughs work, Language as a Virus. Sort of discusses it just merely in passing, but if you really want a good video on that, Hidden America just brought out a video on William S. Burroughs' work, and he goes into it somewhat. But basically, language can be utilized. It's utilized as a filter, right? A viral filter. So all of your thoughts get quantized through that filter. All of your perception, your projection of reality, so on and so forth. That's what permits abstraction. It's it's the first primeval tool of the thinking man. It's not fire, that's the material tool. The first primeval tool of the thinking man that comes out of the mere abstract of nothingness. That's language. So it is the primary genetic driver that allows humans to develop complex speech, linguistic abstraction, and intricate vocalization. It also is what allows, I forget the philosopher that coined this term, but print capitalism, which is that, well, I'm going to sort of utilize that and sort of, vary it in how he meant it, but basically it allows people to have abstract, as we would call it, parasocial relationships, across tribes, across groups, across families, across the world, as we see here right now, right? I mean, think about it maybe 200 years ago. How could we have, developed any sort of bond, any sort of mutual understanding and respect for one another without the internet, which is this telecommunicative technology, which really goes beyond. It's like language on steroids, ultimately, right? I mean, even our language itself, our thinking, the knowledge that we've acquired, all of it is ultimately common, right? We've got it from the internet, we've got it from the books, which are proliferated equally and universally, and it's also affected our language as well, right? I mean, of course, a lot of people, a lot of the English speakers now, and I know it in Britain as well, we speak with a sort of American vernacular, so we've developed a common vernacular too. So it's, again, this is all part of that idea, this engine of the hyperreal, the abstract. So if chromosome 2 built the hardware, FOXP2 is the software compiler. It allows humans to construct and perceive a hyperreality or abstraction, that which is just of the mind, projected outwards. So hyperreal is that reality which isn't real, but you believe it to be so. And your belief alone is what makes it real. So the architecture of the myth. So without high-level abstraction, one cannot have empires, currency, religion, or the pious fiction or noble lie, which fundamentally facilitates civilization. FOXP2 allows the human mind to overlay physical reality with a conceptual or virtual reality, which is fundamentally what we all abide within civilization. So because our reality is mediated through language, we are inherently susceptible to linguistic manipulation. This democracy, which is an aristocracy of rhetoricians, right? This is why, of course, all the merchant elite waged revolutions to bring about democracy, because it's easier to control the masses than to try and buy off or advise or persuade the king, right? I mean, a sort of testament to mob psychology. But anyway, so what occultists would call spells, or what media theorists call algorithmic egregores. So Eros hypothesized within our discussion that the philosopher priest class, or the philosopher kings, what he calls the draconian or witch bloodlines, possess a hyper expression or mastery of this gene, this FOXP2 gene. So they have the gift of the gab, if you will, right? Allowing them to weave the perceptual webs and societal narratives that domesticate the rest of the human population. So they literally are the mask. If anyone's played Majora's Mask, they are the happy mask salesman, right? They are the ones who will stab you in the back with a smile, who have this very uncanny valley effect upon the player. You know, they're human, but there's a part of them that's almost more than human. It feels supernaturally malevolent. And they sell you the masks, the ideologies that you will wear from cradle to grave. And this is how the Philosopher Kings maintain a mastery over the cycles of time. Through the masks, right? Through the language, through the mastery of this FOXP2 gene, which allows man to abstract his own environment and to create a conceptual environment that he can overlay onto reality. So, yeah.
This is where you get into, and Regan and Mehdi, feel free to cut me off and please share whatever you guys are thinking. I'm going to be real quick. It gets into the debate, especially the ideas Gillis brings up with, is it deceased practitioners that we're dealing with in some sort of, I guess, like a possession via conjuring? So it's like dead occult practitioners, or are they practitioners like you're saying that are alive and are doing this, or is it a combination of the two? And do you need a mastery of that FOX2 gene to conjure the spiritual sources that enable you to do this sort of super, or do you even need the spiritual aspect, or is it just something you could do physically, like an Ubermensch sort of thing?
Sorry, Chris, could you repeat that? I was actually, I lost track of my mind there. I was actually typing. Sorry, could you repeat that just really quickly?
Yeah, I was saying there could be a debate that's made based on like the ideas Nathaniel Gillis puts forward, where these are dead occult practitioners who are somehow reaching like from the spiritual back into the physical and attempting to possess bodies with the aid of occult practitioners that are living.
Right.
Or is it strictly just a physical sort of evolution of this FOX2 gene? There's no need for this sort of mediumship.
Yes. Well, it's both. So,
yeah, I was going to say both.
Yeah.
Here's what Eros mentions, right? Which is that, and we got into this because this ties in with something I've been looking into, which is that I forget what he mentioned now. He used the Sanskrit term, but if you look into Buddhism, it's Dzogchen Buddhism, right? Which is the highest form of Buddhism. I forget in what Buddhist school now. I think it's Theravada Buddhism. Anyway, Dzogchen Buddhism is it has all the practices regarding sort of ego dissolution, right, and reaching nirvana and utilizing all of this as a sort of mastery over oneself and all of this. Yes, I lost my mind. But
finally,
finally, yes. Eros talks about that what they found in Dzogchen, I forget the book that he remarked upon, but basically they found that they could dissolve their ego, and this was tied to sort of genealogy and dynasties, and that they could make themselves vessels for, higher entities, or something along those lines, right? This is interesting because it's something I've actually been looking into too. And
dude, I feel like if you listen to that episode, me, you, Regan, I'm not sure who else was in it. Who Are the Gray Men? That might have been it. Something like that. the live we did, we like flushed all of these ideas out and pretty much we're on to all of this. Like
I
2
think
years back, probably.
I think I recall that one. Yeah. Oh, my mind fails
It
me
was
now.
a while
I do
back. I'm gonna have
recall
to.
that.
I'm gonna have to
Yeah.
re-listen to it.
Yeah, if you have the link, send me the link after the show. But
I'll look it up. Just
Yeah, it's on the. It's
Yeah.
definitely in my podcast playlist on my channel.
But basically, the idea is that these dynasties have been they genealogically set themselves up to permit the interconnection of these plasma entities into these vessels, right? These so basically the idea is the nobility themselves are expressions of these plasma entities because they are mere vessels, they're puppets for them. Moreover, as well, regarding the P2 gene and all of this, Eros could go into this in greater detail because he's looked into it to a greater extent, at least the technicalities of it. But as I understand it, with this sort of invasive hypothesis idea, all of this is fundamentally there is no distinction between the material and that of the spiritual or etheric. So what we see within the material is simply the sort of static manifestations of the fractures within the sort of staircase of infinitude of the spiritual, of the etheric, right? So what I mean by that is the static manifestations themselves and the fractures which produce them, which is the chaos induced by these disembodied plasma entities, or they themselves may be the chaos itself, the force itself, that what it is ultimately it's like a way to illustrate it or visualize it is think of the plasma entity as a stone and the void as simply the still totally undisturbed face of an ocean, right? Or a puddle or something like that, right? A body of water. And this stone hits it and it causes firstly a contraction inwards as of course the immediate localized area of that body of water absorbs the force of that stone, and then it ripples outwards, right? Again, that's the expansion. So it's the same thing with with this genetic engineering. This is how we were quote unquote genetically engineered, if you will. All of it is merely the sort of modification of oneself through, I guess you could call it electromagnetism, right? Sort of incomprehensible to us at this point in time, though Eros can sort of go into it in greater depths, but still it's incomprehensible that perhaps the mechanisms that were used, but it's something along these lines. So basically the idea is that it's both the spiritual and the material. It's working along these lines. I hope that answers your question somewhat.
Yeah. I mean, that's what my thoughts are on it. I just didn't know if you had any specific thoughts or Eros did. I mean, it seems like it's both.
Yes.
It seems, but that's also probably the easiest way to think about it because you're not wrong. Either way, you're like half right at least.
Well, the thing is as well, we also discussed too that a lot of this is produced by time itself. So time is that which both has a sort of overlordship over both the plasma, the disembodied plasma entity, and also us. So what I mean by that is time is this thing. So what is time? Fundamentally, time is the cyclical reverberations of the initial discharge of everything from nothing, right? Of potential being discharged into a disparate sort of kaleidoscope of energy, right? That then
What now? What are you saying? Say that again. Clear that up. Clarify.
Right. So, in simplistic terms, basically, when the nothingness contracted inwards, it created space for the expansion, which is the energetic discharge. The kaleidoscope, right, of the potential discharged into a disparate sort of fragment of itself. And then what occurs, as we see with stars, we see even with our own life, generations and all of that progression, is that supernovas occur, or supernovas, the same thing, right? It's the terminal emittance of the star. It contracts inwards, it explodes out once more, and so on and so forth. It's basically the recycling of within the cosmic economy that keeps everything going forward and forward and forward and forward, ad eternum, right? So, ultimately, what we're seeing with the plasma entity is that the plasma entity almost wants to transcend all of that, right? Because it's bound by it. This is, of course, what we even see with the tech bros, if you will, the tech overlords. This is what they want to do. It's the escape from death. It's something that they all seek after. There was something else I was going to mention. It escapes my mind now. So I'll let you jump in. Sorry.
I'm gonna let Regan or Maddie jump in.
Jump in. Thanks. I like looking at it more from a different perspective, but it's all the same, more or less. To me, it's like, Revenge of the Nerds and the Jocks. That me and Silas were kind of having this discussion earlier. And it's just that back and forth of the teeter-totter up and down, which is the breath of life, which is like you could see it. I like seeing it in all the karate fighting movies, right? The Karate Kid with Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. That's what that message is, Like, what's the other one I was thinking? Oh, Never Back Down, right? They even bring up that Mr. Miyagi reference, and he goes, "That's your big speech," and his big speech was breathe. Take breaths. Most fighters lose because they gas themselves while they're fighting. It really has nothing to do with the punching and the hits and all that. I mean, it does, but more or less, the better fighter is the one who actually learns to control their breathing. But just all those little dropped clues you'll see in like major media and movies about the stuff, and which, like, I would highly doubt even any of those people acting out the roles or directing the movies even know what that stuff means, unless they're actually at, whatever spiritual awareness or awakeness that they exhibit. And to answer your question earlier, Chris, that you directly asked me, and Maddie and Silas and Eros, I think it's like a combination. It's a big mix. So it'd be like the best reference I got for that is like the movie Blade, right? The Blade series, and like how you got familiars and vampires, and it's this big hodgepodge mix of like, there's some humans that are tagged and work for the vampires secretly and know about the underworld, and they're trying to get immortality and etc. And then there's tons of people blissfully unaware that it's all happening, and then there's outliers that are fighting against the system, like Blade's accomplices, like Whistler and all these other people, Dixie and stuff. And that's kind of like, I thought that movie was a really great way to show people and be like, yeah, this is like what's happening, like the society and the negation of things and how this place works, And so that's how everything works. And everything is a micro or a macro cycle of itself. So if you want to get into like astrology and all of that kind of stuff, you can directly correlate it to what's happening with businesses on the surface of the earth. That directly correlates with major political systems going on. That directly correlates with people and one individual person and how your body operates and your lungs and the breath and the organism itself. It's all just a whole ton of circles within circles at the end of it, you know, and it's all connected in these orbs. And that's why in like your microscience and your macro sciences, that's why you see those patterns repeatedly put down over and over again, whether you can actually see those things through a microscope or a telescope, right? Because when you're looking through any type of lens whatsoever of anything, your vision is distorted. So when you're looking through a microscope, especially at, you know, like 2 times magnification versus 10 versus 100, etc., the more magnification you get, the more lenses are in there to get that extra magnification that's distorting the image even more, you know, and same going the other way, looking up at the stars, right? And so it's like to actually say that you know what those things are, well, the farther away it is, or the smaller it is, the bigger the lie is, even to yourself and what you think you're looking at, you know. Really, all these things are grand cycles and small cycles of itself, reflected and inverted back in on itself over and over and over again. That's exactly why photography works the way it does. When you're taking an image, you're actually taking like an inverse reflected image of a negative. And that's why it has to be produced. And at least back in the Polaroid days and all that type of stuff, right? We have the digital world has accelerated that, or at least made the appearance that it accelerated it. But that same thing's still happening. You still have the shutter in your iPhone cameras or Androids or whatever stuff you get. That's the thing with no matter how advanced technology gets, it's all really the same. Technology is just another word for wisdom or knowledge. It's an extension of it, an external device to the being that you are is really all that technology is. And all of these words, to break it all down, are all just labels in general. I saw a lot of people at the beginning of the chat talking with electricity and technocracy and all of that. Well, label, lab of L. It's that is the experiment. The experiment's within the words, it's within the language, it's within your being and what you're perceiving and the optics. All these things are very pertinent to all systems, all things, and it's all interconnected in such a way. And yet there is like this appearance of separation, but ultimately we are all touching via the atmosphere, right? If you're in the ocean, if you're in anything in this earth, you're touching everything else. We're breathing the same air, essentially, right? So it's really hard, I think, for something as powerful as like a being as we are, or that we think we are, to get, you know, it's very easy to get things overcomplicated and to get way out of control and to kind of get into these positions that we're in. And I bet you this happens over and over and over again. Me and Silas talk about this regularly, where it's like the end of the Roman Empire, whether the history books are right or wrong, it's not just the end of the Roman Empire. That story is repeated thousands and thousands of times. And the modern day and the modern world and what's going on is that exact same cycle, lining up with hundreds of other cycles, right? We had the Great Depression 100 years ago. We're going right back into it right now. You had America's 250th birthday. You had all these other various, you know, there's different millennial and centennial things that are all occurring and overlapping at different times. The same way that star systems do, electrons, particle physics, how we understand all these things work. It's all these crazy mass. And like we stated earlier, chaos doesn't exist. It has an insane order to it. It's just very difficult to be one being of perception from one angle and to like see it all. And if you were to consume all of that information, essentially you would just rip apart. I mean, you wouldn't, your purpose here wouldn't function anymore. And that's the thing. Like, if the whole masses were to wake up, or these like grand revolutionary things were to happen, if everyone could figure out the keys to life right away, that the purpose for the place would dissolve. Like the mechanics of how this place works, like it would all just fall apart, right? So it's working in a certain mechanic that your body works in that same way, right? We input a lot of energy into ourselves via food or water, even consumption through our eyes and all these various things. And you chop it down and cut it up and trim it out, and you're left with what body you're operating in, right? You're left with the vehicle that your animus has essentially possessed. You know, if you really want to get into that type of possession stuff, we're all possessed. We're we're possessed by
Well,
animus.
it's almost
it's
like
like-
it's symbiotic, and then I feel like when it becomes unhealthy, that's when you can say it's possessed, because then you need to exercise your demons and find a balance.
all right, Ace. This house is clear.
But yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yes.
I mean, hence our title, Plasma Symbiotes. But this is that PDF I was telling you guys about. I'm trying to see if a lot of this we already discussed. But there were a
Yeah, thanks,
few.
Chris. Sorry, I'm scanning it right now. I'll weigh in a few minutes.
There were a few things in it that were super interesting, and no problem, Eddie. Whenever you're ready to pop in, just start talking, and I'll shut up, or any of us will shut up.
Is
Trying
is this the section on the Aurora Borealis?
So, I mean, the problem is this PDF, since it goes with the Audible version, it's just going to various footnotes that he has.
Oh,
So I don't really know where in the book we are, but so he's going a lot into the Borealis sort of early observations. He's going through them. He's going through various experiments, how they saw the Kordylewski clouds and the two Lagrange points. I'm trying to find some of the more interesting things, because there's So this is weird that he starts bringing up the cosmic web, because it seems like what they're... All right, so there's something in the book he talks about called complex dusty plasma.
yes, yes.
And he says that they find this in the particle accelerators and colliders. And at first they thought it was contamination, and they would clean out the colliders and redo the experiments. And then they realized it wasn't contamination. It was actually being created, like out of nothing, basically.
Ex nihilo, yeah.
Basically, they're creating like a sort of tiny connections into the metaphysical realm via the ether, it seems like, via ether perturbations. And they're getting like new matter, very small pieces of matter. I mean, at least that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, and it indicates exactly sort of what we've been discussing here, which is that the material itself it's inextricable with that of intractable, really, with that of the etheric or the spiritual. The two can't necessarily be severed, and fundamentally what you're seeing in the physical is manifestably the sort of static, periodic or phasic manifestations of the spiritual itself. So there was a quote actually that I've got from that book, can't find it now. But oh, here we go. Here we go. This is very interesting, right? So this ties in exactly with what we were just discussing here. So this is what Temple mentions in the book. Quote, another book to go along with this is a great accompaniment is Joseph P. Farrell's work, Demons in the Echo. I mean, that's a superb book, and there's a couple of other ones, but that's pretty much right up there with Temple's work here. Quote, spontaneously form heliacal structures similar to DNA. The self-organization is based on physical mechanisms of plasma interactions. As a result, each heliacal string, composed of solid microparticles, dust, is topologically and dynamically controlled of plasma fluxes, leading to particle charging. These interacting complex structures exhibit thermodynamic and evolutionary features thought to be peculiar only to living matter. So basically what we were discussing, it is a slave to time itself, just like us. It's a slave to the paradox of contraction and expansion. In light of the autonomy, progeny, and autopoiesis, so progeny, so they also replicate as well, the principles necessary to life, complex organized plasma structures exhibit all the necessary properties to qualify them as candidates as inorganic living matter that may exist in space provided conditions are met. So basically it's conceptualizing what Tolkien knew as the secret fire, or the secret flame. Athanasius Kircher discusses this too, so is Bartholomew of Parma in their Mundus Subterraneus, right, which is fundamentally a sort of metaphor. But the idea is that effectively what these plasma entities are is and of course even the source of the plasma entities perhaps as well is that like the black sun, right? It's a paradox itself. It's a fire. It's a fire. It's a sun. It provides warmth. It provides light, but at the same time, it can also immolate, right? Everything that shines must burn, right? It must concomitantly burn. So it's basically talking about that idea. The notion is when you get down to what perhaps is motivating the plasma, it's probably similar to what motivates us, right? Once you've got the resources, that permits you to do so, you will seek immortality. You will seek a transcendence beyond thermodynamics, beyond basically the solar economy, right? As I was getting to with George Bataille, again, he believes that us, all of the cosmos, what have you, is established by the sort of effluence or the emission of a solar excess. Basically, the sun sacrificed itself for us, and that we must expend that excess through sacrifice in turn, right? So you get this sort of toroidal feedback loop. It's the same idea, right? With what you're seeing here, it's the same idea with land, the same idea with Kurtish Yarvin, also known as Mencius Moldbug, who's basically just a sort of parrot of Nick Land, but it's the same thing. So it's so they're seeking to basically mimic and revert back to the primal fire, as it is the holy grail of power, as it is a super tautological. That means it's a super truth. It's a truth that cannot be. It's incontrovertible, if you will. Recursive state necessary for the perpetuation of total domination and destruction, which is of the spirit of Sauron or Morgoth, or Melkor, respectively, in that sequence. So basically what I mean is they want to be God, right? They want to be the source. They want to be the pleroma. It's exactly what you see from the Gnostic creation myth. I mean, these things just don't change. I mean, how did the ancients figure this out? How did they know this? Unless there was something feeding them this technology, or this understanding, right? Not just the technology, but the understanding itself. You know, there's something deeper awry here. There's something deep going on here.
Medi, Regan.
Oh, he trailed off? I thought he just got cut out. I wasn't even sure if the rant was still going.
No, it's finished. I do apologize.
I was getting distracted, man. Even when
Yeah,
I was
sorry, I'm still
talking, I
reading.
start losing it. The plasma's got me. I'm getting symbiosis with some demons right now.
Where the hell is that one image where they show?
Hey,
Well,
there was a more accurate drawing of the heart. Yeah,
yes.
the figure 8.
Now, this shows... Now, see if you take the heart and you dissect it and pull its musculature apart.
Looks like a bunch of helixes.
Helixes. It's all helixes because the heart itself is fundamentally a vortex-producing machine. This is what creates your aura or your electromagnetic field. The toroid itself, right? Once that toroid gets broken, that's when you die. That's the spatial contraction. And the blood pumping round your body, again, the coagulation of light, that is what... well, fundamentally, that's what carries the seed of life. But the source of life is in the heart, right? That is what effectively gives you not necessarily consciousness, but it's what powers all of that. It's what gives that vitality, you know. And it's all a vortex. It's you know what I mean. It's so interesting. I mean, how the hell did the ancients figure this out? Unless there was a precursor civilization they were taking this from. Or, of course, plasma entities. I mean, it's one or the two.
What the hell is this one now? This is the magnetic fields in the brain. See, he was even getting into how we emit light, so we're all, light beings. I mean, this is nothing new, I'm sure, to most people here. Yeah, more light and whatnot. This is super interesting, and I'm not sure if this is legitimate or not, but it's something we should look at really quick. Have you guys heard of this?
Yes, it's at conception. There's that flash in the pan
right.
of light.
No, a little bit different. A little bit different.
Well,
so,
I mean, the death flash would be different. I think the light flash would be the conceptive one.
Yeah, so he's saying they're two dishes of the same cell cultures. And what are they in? They're quartz containers. I'm reading it to try to remember myself now. Experiments done in darkness. Each cell in the cell culture at the left dies and it emits an ultraviolet UV. I hate that word, photon, because we know that they don't exist.
I'll just call it a photon.
Yeah, photon containing the exact virtual pattern of its death. A shield with a window is set up in between the two dishes. The UV rays pass through the window, and when it's made of quartz, but not when it's made of glass. So, I believe he's saying... Wait.
So the quartz is able to transmit the communication where the glass blocks it?
So when it's quartz, I think the other cell culture dies as well.
Right, so it's transmitting what it's doing.
Which is really weird.
This makes me think of the Andromeda strain and when they're doing all the experiments with the mice containers, right?
Yeah.
Cell cultures, and that was determining its communicate. They didn't know it was a living thing, but eventually they determined the communication stuff, and it was very similar to this, where it was the materials, right? Had the coating within the container, the buckyball material.
But this is also like terrain theory based.
Well, that is train.
Yeah.
That is train
Yes.
theory is what the Andromeda strain ends up being, right? And
Yeah.
it's adaptive too. It learns as well as it goes. But
Yeah.
and
because
this would be the
he's-
same. This would be straight light transmission. Like this is the
That's all it is. It's a
light
field.
knowledge.
It's
Yeah.
field trend. It's a field that's transmitted through quartz.
And what this is also showing as well is this is probably the basis of their entire wide, whole body or wide body area network,
Yeah.
or the biophotonics. I mean, even says biophotonics, mitogenetic
Mitogenic rays.
Yeah. So
Biophotons is their new variation. Oh,
So
boy.
look at that. What Kazanachev discovered by his experiment was that if the cells in the dish on the left were killed by virus infection, chemical poison, toxic radiation, or some other means, death as if by the same means was paranormally transmitted to the cells in the right-hand dish, as long as the UV rays could pass through the window. So it really makes one wonder, why did they put up the Gwen towers, you know? Why did they put up all of it? What's up fundamentally going on here? I mean,
Oh,
even
and look at this too. So when he was saying this, they did this in darkness, but when they did it in the daylight, it didn't work as well. Which, if you remember, 2020, 2021, 2022, no one was getting sick when they were outside, especially in the daylight.
Yes. And you know what's interesting as well? See if you look up. So this sort of ties in with the blackness, right? Remember alchemy or alchemia. Which is the article and the primary article in Arabic, which is the, and then chemia, which is where we get our term kemet. Again, the black land. So the blackness, the blackening, and that's the first stage of alchemy, nigredo. Quite literally, the blackening, the putrefactio, the putrefaction. But where does algorithm come from? Well, it comes from we read here. Algorithm etymologically and algorithm's etymology and its relations to alchemy or alchemia of the Black Land or of Kemet, ancient Egypt, composed of the article al, the, and Khwarazmim. So this is algorithm. So Khwarazm itself etymologically derives from the Old Persian Uvarazmish, and this is a composite of words who Uvara and Jme, which literally means the dark land, thus of the black land or of the darkness. Therefore, both alchemy and algorithm etymologically relates to its this concept of darkness, of a supposed enigmatic black or dark land, and perhaps this notion of the primordial chaos of the unconscious. This relates to these appellations of the Demiurge, the Lord of all things, with Choronzom, the dweller in the abyss, as Crowley stated, both Dee and Crowley stated that, John Dee, and Yaldabaoth, meaning child of chaos, or Yaldabaoth in Hebrew, from its Hebraic root. But we also have in Tolkien's, I think it's from Elvish, where Al Ghul means pain wraith or horror spirit. So you're literally dealing with literal black magic here. I mean, even of course the circuit boards themselves that they utilize are clearly, I mean, they look so similar to the sigils of the Goetia and the lesser and greater keys of Solomon. I mean, one can't help but conclude that what you're dealing with is on these nano and microchips and what have you, is a vessel by which they can control and manipulate and, of course, capture some sort of spirit or entity or spiritual substance of some kind, or, of course, electromagnetic radiation or what have you. There's something going on with this.
100%. Oh, and
There's something going on. We got to get to the bottom of
yeah.
it.
I know, yeah. It's
Woo Rider
the
asked a
top.
question. And I say everyone can answer this. Thoughts on people seeing entities inside plasma orbs and quantum imaging?
That's interesting.
Define entities.
If he has any links for that, I would be interested to look into that, because see, I'm still in two minds whether the plasma is a force, meaning a vector quantity, meaning it acts upon matter, right? Rather than it being an object in matter itself. So, I'm in two minds whether meaning, is plasma a force, or is it, or plasma entities? What's going on here, right? But yeah, if he's got any links to that, I would be interested to look into that.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've seen anything on that particularly. Is that like kind of the stuff going on with what they're pulling out of the colliders and stuff, and the imaging that they're seeing supposedly in the particle colliders?
I'm not as familiar with the quantum imaging aspect of it all. And the quantum thing gets a little bit, tricky for me, especially I'm not a big,
Yeah,
I'm not
Woo
too into
Rider.
the,
You'll have to
all the
forward
the
more
quantum
stuff.
language is a bit, I never know what people, because everyone has a different view of quantum. And a lot of people even think it's nonsense.
Right.
But as far as entities being seen as a result of people coming into contact with plasma, that was something, one of the explanations I believe people in the intelligence agencies were giving for reports of alien abduction and whatnot. They thought they said they were coming into contact with plasma balls, and that was a
Yeah.
Well,
That's
that's an
also
interesting
known
point of
side effect.
consideration. I would tend to believe the opposite of what they're saying in this
Yeah.
particular instance.
Yeah, I mean, the UFO thing is suspect. It's highly dubious, but the Temple mentions that in the book as well. I find there's certain parts in the book that I find dubious, but the plasma thing itself. See the interesting thing. See if this whole biodigital convergence is a thing. Then this sort of this lead up to inorganic life, effectively, right? This transhumanism, this transition to inorganic life, would actually establish plasma people, right? That's what they would be seeking to establish on some level, right? And what is plasma? Plasma is basically just charged ionized gas at its basis, at its most basic level, and then of
neon
course it
lights.
goes up from that. Neon lights, yeah. That's so.
Yep.
And then it goes from everything upwards. So it's not, it's something that's material. Neuralink, exactly. Yeah,
Neuralink. Yep.
Neuralink, yeah. And also as well, they're looking into storing data in sort of genetic material, right, in DNA. So they're seeking to store data in DNA. So when you're starting to get into this, again, whether they have the technology right now or not, this is where the system's mind is going towards. They don't care about the environment. I mean, here's an interesting thing, by the way. And most people don't really get this, because, of course, they're reading the sort of sanitized English version, English translation. But if you look into where is it here? Genesis 1:28, right? So it states that, quote, God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it, right? Now, don't be stewards over it, subdue it. The Hebrew term is wakabashi, from the root to tread down, beat, make a path. So to utterly treat the earth as one sees fit and destroy it, if needs be, and to rule it, or of course the Hebrew is chradah, The root specifically conveys the idea of treading down or trampling again, often in the context of a wine press or to conquer. We see this play out in Revelation as a sort of metaphor. Over the fish of the sea and the birds of the air and every creature that crawls upon the earth. So basically, in essence, this God, right, Yahweh, or the plasma entity, the burning bush, the El Shaddai, the God of the mountain, the silent, we could say the sun behind the sun, or whatever term. We could even say the Geist, right, or the plasma entity, whatever term we want to use. It's it seeks to draw it to basically push man into destroying nature. Why? Well, because it's something that because it wants to promote abstractionism. It wants to promote civilization. It wants to lead man, basically, not lead him, but force him into producing the technological superorganism to transition into an organic life. Because if you destroy the organic environment, you cannot live anymore as an organic being. You've destroyed basically your mother's womb, if you will, right? You're now out in the big wide world. You have to survive on your own, right? And of course, as an organic being, you can't survive outside the organic environment or in a destroyed organic environment. Thus, you are forced to transition into a transhumanist, inorganic, albeit as well, plasmic state, right? So, again, see, when you start to look into Kabbalah and you tie this into what we're seeing here, and by the way, Kabbalah isn't just Jewish, it's both Christian and even Islamic, if you look at the Sufi movement too. But
All falls under the Abrahamic.
it's all, yeah, it all falls under the Abrahamic religions, and even beyond. So, what you're dealing with is what appears to be, again, in the sort of framework of this speculative plasma theory, is that these are invasive plasma entities, what we call quote unquote gods, or what later we would call UFOs or what have you, these gods, and that they want us to destroy the world, which of course we're readily doing right now, through data centers and all of this, poisoning the water, destroying the land, pillaging the land of its rare earth minerals, depleting all of the natural resources, so on and so forth, so that we can establish a vessel for this quote-unquote God to manifest itself. In fact, he even states that in the Zohar, where firstly, there will be two messiahs that come. You'll have the Mashiach ben Yosef, which will be the political messiah. He'll basically subdue the world. And then you'll have the Mashiach ben David, which will be the etheric or spiritual messiah. So we can only assume that that will be, in some sense, the sort of plasma entity, the collective beingness of a new technological superorganism, which will bring all of the collectivized, centralized beingness of humanity unto it. We even see this, by the way, just lastly, in the Zohar, it talks about the Mashiach ben Yosef being an actual collective entity. That it will be the sort of collective, it will, how does it describe it? It's basically a collective entity. It will be the entirety of Israel, collectivized into this entity. Basically, yes.
Ultron,
I forget.
or Jarvis, or
Yeah.
whichever one you want to pick, Skynet.
Skynet, yeah. Well, I forget the terminology it uses, but it's basically a collective entity. And it always, perplexed me. I could never understand that. What does it mean? It's this Messiah is a collective entity. And I was thinking maybe it's a metaphor or something like. It makes sense when you start to look into these theories,
And the Power Rangers put all their
Yeah.
all their little rides together and
When
become
they
one big
transform together.
robot. Yeah.
Uh,
But the collective entity is just it's gonna be everything. It's everything. It's
Well,
a whole and it's a whole entire world coded in sensors and nanoparticles and complex dusty plasma that is a what's the word? Not a metamaterial. Well, it's metamaterials. It's also self forming. What's the freaking word? Like the black goo stuff.
Oh yeah, it's parthenogenesis.
But it's matter that's
I mean,
Self-assembling.
self-assembling matter. Yeah, it's still not the right word, but you guys, you know what I'm talking about.
Also, yeah, autogenesis. Yeah, it just it's self-begetting.
It's like nanotechnology,
Yeah.
self-assembling nanotechnology.
Self-replicating as well. Yeah.
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 Yeah, they
I mean,
just call them the replicators on Stargate.
Yeah.
A lot of the Stargate SG-1 stuff, everything we covered is all in there.
And he's talking about all of that, like right in this page that's up right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a way to take the plasma and make it work with your digital system.
Yeah, remember when you go get your blood drawn for money, and then all of a sudden the blood bank started asking for the plasma of your blood, which is like that coating around the outside of your blood cell. Why do you think they were doing that?
Another one's 23andMe.
Yeah.
Or
and Ancestry.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, these people have literal genetic seed vaults, if you will, where they've got all of this collected. This is why they have AI. They're collecting all of the thoughts, all of the light, all of the shadow inherent in our souls. They're coaxing it out of us because it's to basically they're collecting all of this because they're trying to piece it together to create a talos, a technological man, something that will emerge from the deep shadows of our own of our own past, right? And it will merge religion with technology. I mean, it's absolutely insane when it almost sounds sci-fi, but really, there's no other way to explain this sort of deep interest in the tech companies with that of the work of Nick Land. I mean, Nick Land's he should be actually completely, castigated and ostracized as a absolute crackpot of a thinker, right? Like technological accelerationism. Basically, forget the planet, man. Just we need to reach out and grasp AI and just run with it, even if we destroy the planet. That doesn't make any sense unless they believe once they hit the veil and pierce the veil that there's something beyond there. There's a sort of inorganic form of life beyond there that they can, sort of transition to.
I don't know what they think they're going to fight against it or that it's going to accept them with open arms, but I don't think so.
If there's something to go to.
If there's even anything, that's physical.
What if you're just destabilizing the place and you're just fucking it all up?
I'm pretty sure that's what they're doing. With the help of entities that aren't necessarily on the same plane of physicality that we're on.
It's like Faust. It's
the same thing every time.
Yeah.
Well, all the movies, right? Like they're all dystopian.
And it's like they know the outcome of their actions, yet they do it anyways.
Right.
Which I don't really understand. It's very strange.
We know it's gonna fail, but
we've been saying this for years, since 2020, and since we all started talking in 2020. We've been saying that, all of us. it's like they know they're gonna fail, yet they continue, which is really
Maybe that's like the better alternative.
well. Part of me worries that it's because they're not planning on like they're trying to make it look like they're doing all of this, but really they're just getting ready to hunker down
Hmm.
and go underground until whatever happens, and then they reemerge. So that's it looks like they're being idiots and working towards some sort of fall of Babel, but it was gonna fall anyways. They know it, and they're just acquiring resources, and then they're gonna disappear.
Yeah, that's spot on. Yeah, it's.
Because that would be the smart thing.
Mhm.
And if they don't do that, they're retarded. They're idiots, especially if there's like a bunch of cataclysms coming, like, and they're just gonna keep pushing, or they're the ones creating cataclysms, and they're retarded. I don't get it.
But this also may be the reason for the genetic engineering as well. It pushes man to believe the lies of the plasma entities, that they strike the Faustian bargain with the the Mephistophelian plasma entity, and that they're drawn towards the delusion of the abstraction. They become sort of besotted by the idea that they could become one with the gods. It's a bit like the Promethean myth or the Luciferian myth, that man himself believes, he wants to believe the lie. Because fundamentally, and you have to believe the lie, because think about it, when you've got all the power and all the wealth, you could have any woman you wanted, you could have anything you wanted, you have, a house here, a mansion there, whatever it may be.
Don't have
Money,
eternal life
you
in
don't
that
have
state.
eternal life. Exactly.
But forget even the houses, women, etc., etc. Think of the technology and the claims of what some people say they've seen, experienced, especially stuff going on in South America, like the Pelicaras type of things. These stories where the people are saying these aren't aliens, these are gringos or white men who are
Yeah.
wearing advanced bodysuits with hoverboards and cloaking technology, and they're injecting them in their faces, these people in their faces, and attempting to like remove their skin until they're like when they're disrupted in doing so, and these people survive and are able to tell the story. They're trying to cut off my face. They're trying to take pieces of my body, basically. It's like organ harvesting with advanced technology that only would be possible if there's some sort of breakaway civilization that is interacting with us on a whole different level with tech we have no idea
Well,
about.
this is something as well that you see from I think it was Professor Jiang that stated this, and I found it an interesting theory, which is one hypothesis is that, like with the breakaway civilization you're mentioning, and by the way, this also explains why you saw that spate of basically murders of the UFO researchers and scientists and all of this, primarily in America, and that is they want you to believe it's plasma, because not just that it's plasma, but they want you to deify both AI and everything else that they're doing. Because what that does is it projects it projects their power, right? It turns them into a sort of a Wizard of Oz-esque character, right?
Mm-hmm.
The curtain is provided of the technology that they are somehow like God, right? How could you oppose them, right? They've got their death rays and whatever whatever else it may be. And I think Reagan's watering his plant.
Not exactly.
No, not exactly. So yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah. I mean, it could all simply be that this is a fiction. It could be as well that Robert Temple is pushing this out here under orders, or he may just be an unwitting agent as well. So we have to always...
His name is interesting.
It is very interesting.
Like robber of the temple, basically.
Robber of
The
the
grave
temple.
robber.
I remember his last book was The Serious Mystery.
Yes, I actually own that one. I own that one as well, yeah. Serious Mystery, yeah.
I don't know what he even claimed about it, except I think that the Sphinx used to be Anubis, like a jackal. Was that part of it? I can't remember.
It rings a bell. It rings a bell.
I mean, that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
they use Anubis and the jackal and all those various archetypes all the time.
Oh, they use the dog as well. The dog is
But he changed the way. What's weird is he changed the way he presents his name with this book. Robert Temple, Serious Mystery. So he was Robert K.G. Temple.
KGB.
Robert K.G. Temple. Here, let me switch off, since we're pretty much done with that PDF, I think, at this point for right now. But Mehdi, if you want to bring up anything from it, I'll pull it back up. But, yeah, let's go to Wikipedia. So this is how he used to present his name. Which I think is weird. I really don't know what to make of the name change. I'm sure there's some sort of anagram in there.
Perhaps King. Yeah.
It gives me a real
like KGB, like, you know.
KGB. It gives. I feel like a real Scientology vibe when I'm looking at this name for some reason. I don't know why.
It sounds like who's the L. Ron Hubbard? Doesn't he have
what is it about that that's making me feel like
doesn't
that?
he have two initials between his name too? Or maybe he's just got one middle name, maybe.
L. Ron Hubbard.
I still have this thing pulled up for Man Bear Pig. That came up when you guys were talking about all this shit. Because Al Gore, algorithm, you know, does the Man Bear Pig thing on South Park.
There's someone stated KG 11-7.
Oh, L. Ron Hubbard just starts with an L, and then
yeah, just with an L, just with an L. But what is
Lafayette?
KG? 11-7.
Yeah, 11-7.
So that's 9. I mean, which is 9/11 in the Kabbalah.
Yeah.
Reversed.
Also, as well, 77. I mean, the template. You know, I actually have notes on the Templars. We could probably go into that in the next show.
The Templar.
But really, firstly, I mean, they claim that they're a Christian organization. Christians don't have temples. So that's the first thing to mention. Christians don't have temples, so that should be a dead giveaway. They're not a Christian organization. Interestingly, though, what they were looking for in Jerusalem probably was firstly knowledge of some kind, but most importantly gold. Why gold? Because they required that collateral that was stowed away there when the temple was destroyed in 70 AD by Tiberius and his Roman host. And you also have as well the copper scrolls, which laid out sort of a hidden Hyksos, who were Proto-Israelites, a Hyksos stash of gold, when they were also fleeing Egypt. So yeah, basically the reason for the gold was they required collateral to set up all of the Renaissance banks beginning in northern Italy and then basically spreading outwards. So effectively, that's where our central banking systems come from, at least in the modern sense. I mean, of course, they tie back to older central banking systems, but so yeah, that's basically what the Templars were about. That's why they were set up. They were also pirates as well, by the way. The Jolly Roger was a flag that they utilized first within their navy, and yeah, we could probably look into the pirates as well. They're also interested in the Vikings too. Also relate to this this group. So do the Norse and the Normans.
Oh, before we go too far away from the plasma, so they're connecting Robert Temple to the OTO and the idea of daemons. And if you guys remember, I know Regan will, the show with the guy from Split. What the hell's his name? James McAvoy.
James McAvoy, yeah.
He was in that show with the. Oh God! It's
you saying film or are you saying TV series?
No, TV series. It was with the basically these. There were daemons in it, but it was also like this dusty plasma that were like angelic. What the dark? No, not dark matter. What the? Oh God! It's gonna kill me.
Sci-fi. He was.
His Dark Materials.
His Dark Materials. There you go.
Materials. Yeah.
Yeah. So right when that book came out, that show was basically just getting into its, I think, second season. And it seemed like a lot of the ideas like were from the book, were presented in the show. And I remember we talked about it a little bit.
Somewhat akin to Stargate as well, and the sort of...
That'll take you a while.
I mean, if any of you guys want to share something, just feel free. I'll stop sharing this for now.
Well, I'll actually have to head off in a minute.
Well, I guess not to backtrack too much. I finished looking over that, and there was one thing I thought was pretty interesting. Let me just pull back up the drive. Yeah, the idea of vectorial metabolism. Did you read up on that?
No.
Do you want me to pull up that Here, I'll pull up that form again.
No, hello.
You got it? Do you know what page it's on? Oh, what happened to him?
Oh, I think he dropped out.
No, yeah.
Oh no, what happens is with when you're using StreamYard on your phone, if you go off,
it goes off.
Yeah, it goes off with you. It's very.
That's why I don't even do StreamYard on my phone because we couldn't even connect the last time we tried. Like you can't hear me. It wasn't working very well.
I know. We can't hear you watering your plants, Regan.
Damn it.
Jesus.
Gotta hear the bubblers.
I'm sure we'll be back in a minute. And then after that, we could wrap this up.
Yeah.
But what was he saying? He was mentioning, maybe I could just search it. Did he say something about metabolism?
I think he did say metabolism.
Just keyword it.
God. There we go.
Being a static chemical process known as the bag of enzymes theory.
Is that what he was talking about?
I think so. Not quite sure.
Maybe.
If you
gotta wait till he comes back.
This looks like God. What the hell is it called? What's her name? Alison McDowell talks about this a lot.
McDowell.
Like it's basically what's in between your skin and your bones and whatnot, your muscle.
What, the fascia?
Yeah, the fascia.
Oh, yes.
Like the white, the white stuff. But if you're used to skin and meat and stuff like that, you know how to look for that stuff when you're doing cuts of a steer, that kind of thing. You're always trying to cut the steaks by the fascia cuts, right?
Yeah.
You want to
Oh, we
like
got
split
some-
it right there.
There he
You
is.
don't have to, but
Maddie, go ahead, brother. I pulled up the form so you wouldn't have to.
Where was I? On vectorial metabolism. Yeah, have you ever heard of that concept before? Because I think that's what stuck out to me the most. Was just I
Is
tied
this
everything
the?
together between the cells. Yep.
This was the section you were talking about, right?
I was looking on my screen here. Are you showing? It's page 12. Plasma comes alive, where you have the hydrophilic heads, the hydrophobic tails, just showing a plasma membrane.
yeah, this should
Yeah,
be
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yep,
Yeah, this
that's
is it. Yep.
Chapter 12, page 12.
Yeah, so vectorial metabolism is something that's new to me. That's what I thought was probably one of the more interesting concepts that I came across here. And so it says vectorial metabolism, meaning that metabolic processes are like vectors and have a direction in space, which is far from the random processes of chemicals sitting idly in a quote unquote bag of enzymes, like loungers on adjoining deck chairs who might occasionally have a chat or a joke.
Yeah, so basically what he's meaning there is it's they have vectors, they have directional it's a directional force. The plasma itself is almost a force unto itself. So this is very peculiar. Again, it's a state of matter, but it's
Well,
even beyond that too.
to me, all I see here is stalagmites and stalactites in a cave system. And it's not as peculiar as you would think, right? Like those are the forces that bind everything together, the ins and outs.
Well, I'm just curious about the layer beneath the electrons and really the electrical components. I mean, what really composes quarks? How do those actually compose atoms? Maybe we'll actually understand something if we get to that point, but I don't know. Still, all just too theoretical.
Very much.
Yeah, Victorial.
So he's giving it just a dimension. I don't know what to make of that.
It is interesting though, because it also shows as well that these like what we're seeing here between the positive and the negative, between these two sort of self-repelling layers, like what you see in the illustration, is that it's almost it's self-sustaining. It's a self-sustaining thing, right? So it's a self-sustaining force. So this is interesting because fundamentally this is what you're seeing throughout. Perhaps if we derived from this sort of plasma, if we were genetically engineered, everything you see in civilization is mirroring this. So the microcosm mirrors this macrocosm that we're seeing here of the plasma. So the characteristics of the plasma play themselves out in the world itself, you know.
Right. So I guess the point I was trying to get to is maybe we could understand the nature of plasma if we understand the nature of how a cell membrane is actually interacting this vectorial metabolism that's being described here.
Pretty
Reminds
sure
me
that
of Sidus's work, positive, negative universe, the reverse universe, and the animate and inanimate book that he wrote. But go ahead, Regan. Sorry.
Oh, now I forgot. Now I started
Shit,
thinking
my
about what you
bad.
said. The reverse universe theory, or the animate versus inanimate and all that. That got me going too. No, I was just thinking, this just made me think of like your storm systems, right? You got all your charge on one side and opposite on the other. As far as self-perpetuation, right, which is what I think you're trying to get at, Silas, as far as like it's self-containing
Yeah.
and reiterating, which is just like the heart. Oh, that's what it was. Maddie, like what you're kind of saying. To me, it kind of seems like it's what they were trying to claim that they knew with like stem cell research.
Or even the previously, now what they're saying is a poor theory, the bag of enzymes idea,
Right,
which
right.
Yeah.
just random enzymes just floating around, attaching where they belong, where they don't.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be some sort of paradigm or some sort of blueprint that life is basing itself on. What's interesting, right? Of course, we don't really know what lies beyond, you know, the sort of petri dish or the vivarium in which we're in right now, the Earth. But it makes one wonder. You know, it appears that we're quite unique in all of this regard, right?
But
Why?
are we? Because it seems like
Mm.
they're finding the same structure down in dust at the microscopic level. When it
Yeah,
comes through,
I
when it
think we're
comes through these particle accelerators, though, only, or they, I guess, find some from outside. I don't know if they're finding anything in the sky. Let's just say when they find them in the particle accelerators.
Well, that's true, yeah. They do find the same structures. But what's interesting is they don't find the same sort of expression of life, which again is based around this sort of FOXP2, this chromosome 2 and chromosome 7, and also as well this sort of you know, this push for technology. There's like something built into man to almost just push us to this, even if of course if it ends up in our own, you know, self annihilation or what have you. But no, I agree with you. I agree that, well, there's something we can generate here in the Hadron Colliders on Earth. I mean, it makes one wonder, does it exist outside? And of course, we can never truly know. I don't know, are we alone in the universe in terms of what we are, who we are?
I think it exists inside of us. I think this is like a second law of thermodynamics type of thing, like the breaking of or reversing of.
Follow-up question. Every time someone asks, you know, are we alone in the universe? I would ask, does it matter?
Not to me. Not this unit.
No.
I mean, I don't know. My
Would
question
you believe
is,
anyone that claimed to actually know for sure?
I'd still ask that question again. You know,
Well,
does it really matter to you? To me, right?
are we alone here is the better question.
I
Like
would
on
only
Earth in this space.
Yeah.
Right.
I would
now,
only
in
believe
this
him
time.
if his name was L. Ron Hubbard.
And he
Might
says
be
he says Xenon or Xenon, whatever the hell his name is,
Yes.
Zaralath
blew us up from all of our souls were in a volcano and we all blew up and he brought us here.
That's right. We all have our own planets waiting for us out there.
Cue the South Park episode so we can learn something right now regarding L. Ron Hubbard.
And the science of the mind. And was it Dianetics?
Dianetics, yeah. I mean,
And Dead Star Cave Girl, I have no idea. Sounds right.
I have one more quote just to mention, and then I'll get out everyone's hair. But
Yeah, then we can wrap it up. You guys are.
it states
I didn't
here,
understand the title of this chapter. I'm sorry, Silas. Go ahead.
Plasma is alive. I think it is it not? Oh no, sorry.
Well,
the mysterious case of the dirty gas.
Just the content
almost
in this,
so close.
yeah, the content in this, the following 3 pages don't really discuss anything about the mysterious nature.
They discuss sort of the magnetic field, you know, around both the human head and around that of the heart, or it's produced from the heart. So I think he's trying to show in these sections or these pages that effectively the torus field is found through all of these things, and this is also something you see in dusty plasma, which spontaneously form heliacal structures, similar to like DNA or something. But so basically what is shown is all of these energetic patterns occur throughout nature. So perhaps there's something to this. It's perhaps like a sort of key.
This is
of
something,
sorts.
I think it's something to do with like that dumb joke with pull my finger joke, because there's something about shooting electric current into a person's finger. It affects the magnetic field in the brain. I almost remember him bringing this up in the book. I'd have to look. But that's what I think he's doing. So it's just this, he's trying to be funny. And it's not funny. It's just stupid.
It's like the corny substitute teacher joke.
Exactly.
Try to lighten things up for the class. I'm the cool teacher. Ha ha. Bang bang with the double gun.
I guess my problem with this title is, it's the mysterious case of the dirty gas, and then they proceed to talk about the electromagnetic nature of the fields, and I guess we can extrapolate that to the gas. Just I don't know.
I think it's just because these are just footnotes and they're a supplement to the actual. I bet if we had the actual chapter, it would make more sense.
Yeah,
I want to go read through all the what is it? Gosh, the citations as well. I'm sure that would actually probably shed a lot of light on what's going on.
We were in that at some points. There's some good stuff in there.
It's a lot. It's quite a lot. Like how these chapters got it. I mean, shit, you got more pages of citations than an actual dissertation.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I also sent a few things on WhatsApp, Chris. We won't get to them today, but I don't know if you want to maybe do a discussion or a live stream on human rotational farming, and we can also go into the difference between the rhizomatic structure and the arborescent structure of power. This also ties in with the plasma thing, but just I have to actually head off, but I was just going to mention this really quickly. This is from Sphinx to Christ. It's by Edward Charret, and it goes, quote, In his Prometheus, Aeschylus went further still. His titanic temperament did not always respect the limits imposed by the law. Driven by his genius, he had the audacity to half reveal one of the greatest secrets of the mysteries, a step which appears to have cost him dear. It was taught at Eleusis that man, the offspring of the gods, became their associate and in a measure took their task in hand as he developed, and that the gods, the cosmic powers on their side, evolved through and with man. This is the idea that Homo est Athenor Dei, or man is the furnace of God. It's this idea of the engine of history being the hyperstitions of man, right? But basically the lies that he believes to be true. So this was not in any sense a denial of their existence, but merely placed them under the great law of universal evolution, recognizing man as their heir who had attained creative power by his own efforts. Such was the fundamental idea of Prometheus Bound, a veritable cosmogonic drama in which the hero constantly speaks of the thousands of years he has yet to live. Prometheus took pity on the man, on men rather, when Jupiter wished to destroy them, and saved them by stealing the heavenly fire, father of all the arts. Hence his struggle with the chief of the gods, the colossal image of the Titan chained by Vulcan with great hammer strokes to the mountain summit, enduring his agony in disdainful silence, then when alone, invoking all the divinities of the universe as witnesses of his voluntary martyrdom, the captive of the gods, consoled by the Oceanids, before Jupiter's lightning symbol, lightning stroke precipitates him to the depths of Tartarus. This symbol is graven in the mind of man as the type of suffering genius and noble rebellion concerning the national god of all the Greeks. And yet, this Zeus, despite the pride that fills his soul shall one day be humbled. The hymen that he prepares shall cast him down from, the human, rather, that he prepares shall cast him down from the height of his power. He shall fall from his throne. His empire shall be ended. So, I found that rather pretty interesting. And basically it discusses the idea that God evolves with man recognizing him as an equal. This is the throne of the Homo Deus mentality, an end to Zeus's throne and the establishment of man as God. This was spoken of in the Greek mystery schools. So, yeah, it's the same sort of idea that we're speaking of here, but that obviously man becomes a plasma entity, becomes one of the gods, you know.
I dig it. I dig it. Anyone else have any closing words, poetry, prose?
I'll just thank you for having me on. I'm sorry I'm
Oh, of course.
basically brain dead tired from traveling this week, and I'm on really crappy hotel Wi-Fi, but this is a lot
No.
to read up more on.
No, but don't even mention it. You're welcome anytime. Regan. Regan.
Oh, I'm burnt out like Icarus going into the sun.
We all are.
No, I'm good. I always got energy, but been doing it a long time today. Gotta...
And to my brother Silas, great job.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming, all of you guys. Let's
Thank you.
let's do this again soon, based
For
on
sure.
some of the stuff that Silas was bringing up, and there are a few topics, Medi and Reagan. I know there's tons of shit we could do another show on,
Oh yeah.
stemming from where
Oh, yeah.
we're leaving off here.
Endless, man. Absolutely endless.
There. I just need to write down things so that I don't get caught up in the many tangents. I mean, I prefer talking with tangents, but yeah, it's hard to
Yeah.
keep up. But
I need to
we're too good.
need to refresh myself on this whole book, and I didn't even know. There's Ronan in the chat. I thought you were in Cancun, man. What are you doing?
He's probably watching from Cancun.
I hope so. I would have sent him a link if I thought he was around. But all right, guys, let's get the hell out of here. Everyone follow Silas, follow Simplified, Symbolism. What is it? Silas Speaks 3301. Medi, do you have a channel?
Nope. Follow these guys.
Follow these guys. Follow my channel. Follow BirdDog45. Follow everyone else we know. And thank you guys for coming out. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
We'll talk soon, guys.